What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Sehgal Show, where we interview some unstoppable entrepreneurs who are dominating figures in their businesses. Sahil here, back again with an awesome, insane guest. Our today's guest is someone who's considered as one of the godfathers of internet marketing. He started the first ebook publishing company, the first online ad tracking company, the second PPC search engine, while the Google boys were still in college, invented the tracking pixel, and so on. I'm so delighted and honored to have the one and only Mark Joyner on our show today. What's up, everyone? This is Sahil here, and welcome to the Sehgal Show, where I'm gonna be interviewing some crazy entrepreneurs out there who started from scratch with no experience, resources, and connections, and then later on became unstoppable and dominating figures in their respective businesses. We're gonna dive deep into the mindset of these super successful entrepreneurs to find out how they did it and how you can model it too. It's time to pick their brains and uncover all the strategies and tactics which these entrepreneurs use to scale their businesses from nowhere to multiple 6, 7, and 8 figures. Welcome to the Sehgal Show.
Hey,
Welcome, Mark.
Sahil. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure and honor to have you, man.
Cool.
Awesome. If you're watching live, put a hashtag live. If you're watching replay, put a hashtag replay. Well, Mark, your journey has been so incredible and it's been so decades of experience that you had. Instead of jumping on your backstory, that would be a long answer. Instead of that, I would ask
Yeah.
you this one. What are the high points, or you can say broad strokes, of your whole entrepreneur journey if you want to sum it up?
Wow. Broad strokes. So, started out with very humble beginnings, to put it mildly. Had a pretty rough upbringing. I realized after not being forced to go to school when I was a kid, I needed some discipline. I was very self-taught. Fortunately, I had a lot of libraries to go to, so I was able to educate myself. Knowing that I needed discipline, I went to the U.S. Army. While I was in the U.S. Army, I started my digital marketing career simultaneously. I was doing it in the early days, even pre-internet, on things like bulletin board systems. Even had exposure to an early version of the internet when I was a young kid called ARPANET. We had a little ARPANET teletype machine. I had access to that through an uncle of mine. And then during the Army, I was running businesses through bulletin board systems, not on the internet yet. I was selling information products. And then as the internet started coming around, started jumping on there and doing stuff. And I had no intention of being known as the father of digital marketing, as people call me now. I was just like, I just want to find a way to make money. That's all I cared about. And it was all fun. And a lot of people started seeing that I was being really successful with a lot of the websites and a lot of the offerings I was doing. And they're like, wow, dude, how are you doing that? Right. And just over time, I sort of by default became this guy that everybody was referring to. And then over time, more and more of the innovations that I was responsible for were being picked up by other people. So, a few of the highlights there, the first, the first ebook publishing company, the first ad tracking company. We invented the tracking pixel. My company, the tracking pixel has evolved a lot since we did it. Back then, it was actually a 1x1 transparent GIF file, which could actually give you a lot more information than you realize, but it wasn't this JavaScript artificial intelligence thing that it's evolved into now, but it was the essence of that. And they still call it tracking pixels because it all evolved from that. We were the first to do, what people are calling sales funnels now. Before we started, innovating this stuff, we didn't invent funnels. That was a direct marketing concept, but we were the first to do it online. It used to be people had, what we call the Apu problem. And I'm sorry, I'm going to make a potentially racist Indian reference here. So if you watch The Simpsons, there's the character Apu. Whenever you go into the store, he'd always say, "Thank you, come again," right? So what I call the Apu problem is that people would go to your website, they'd buy a product, and you would say, "Thank you, come again," and you're throwing away the opportunity to upsell, do various things that we all do now. It's all de rigueur now that we're all using these various techniques. Anyway, I could go on. There were a lot of innovations that my company was responsible for. And then, I got really sick of digital marketing. I may have been like the first guy to get attacked by mobs of people on the internet, being like the first like super famous guy on the internet. Man, the pressure got intense. So I was like, that's it. I'm getting out of this thing. I'm quitting the digital marketing. Like we called it internet marketing back then, right? I said, I'm quitting it. And here I'm going to give all you guys all my secrets and all of our source code. And that package that I sold, launched a lot of careers, like Russell Brunson, for example. That was the thing that started him, this thing called the farewell package. I was coaching Russell for free. So after that point, I was coaching people behind the scenes, and then I started another company. I had a little brief flirtation with multi-level marketing for a while, which I don't recommend anybody do. If anybody's in MLM, don't take any offense. We can talk about why. I'm not favorable about it now, but I was the top distributor for a whole bunch of MLM companies. I started a bunch of MLM companies, but then I decided I just don't like the industry. We can get into those reasons. Stopped that, and then I started a company called Simpleology. Which is it evolved into an online productivity platform. It started out as just an info product, but today it is a full-blown productivity, project management, marketing management, team management tool that is making a pretty profound difference in a lot of people's lives. So I'll give you an example of what this does for people. One of the recent testimonials we got a video from a guy who was showing, hey, I have a streak of how I'm using Simpleology every day, and here's my sales, right? And you can see here on the days I was using Simpleology, my sales were going up for like this 3-month period, and then I stopped using Simpleology, and then boom, my sales dropped. And he goes, I just looked at that last year, and I was like, wow, I got to start using that again. And so that's a very common kind of response that we get from folks. So that's my main focus these days. There's a lot more I could say. I've written a few, number one best-selling books that are in print in 25 languages. They're used in college, university textbooks around the world now. I could say more, but that's a good shotgun blast for you.
That's amazing. Super amazing. So many stories, so many things to learn from you as well. Like we are indirectly learning from you through Russell Brunson as well. Like he's killing it already, and all that stuff.
He's doing so amazingly well. I mean, he's a way better digital marketer than I am now. My claim to fame is not I'm the best digital marketer, right? I was doing that for a while, and that I found that was a very conflict-based way to position yourself. So now I'm like, well, here's a bunch of stuff I invented and did first. You can't do that. True. So go ahead and try to compete with me. Go create a time machine. Go back, right? Can't do that. So my positioning is very different. I will gladly admit there are many people that are far, far better at these things than I am. And Russell, I mean, just his success speaks for itself. He's just absolutely crushing it. He's an amazing human being too. He's a really, really good dude.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the gem in the industry right now, internet marketing as well.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know about who gave you this title, or how did you get the title of father of internet marketing?
So it kind of evolved, right? I can't remember who it was first. It might have been Matt Gill. Somebody started calling me the godfather of internet marketing, right? And then I was like I actually was pushing that away for a while because I was like, man, I don't want that. But then it just stuck for some reason because everybody knew all the things that I did. So it kind of made sense. But then, somebody started calling me the father of digital marketing. I was like, I think that's better actually, because, and by the way, so that title, there are a lot of fathers of digital marketing. There were a lot of people involved in the early days. And frankly, a lot of what I was responsible for was very lucky timing. It's very, very fortunate that I was in the right place at the right time. But that said, there are so many people that innovated so many things. I can't take responsibility for all of that. I can talk about what I did, and that's that. And if people want to call me the father of digital marketing, that's cool. I like it. But I think there's probably about 100 people, who could take that title, but yeah.
That's amazing. Cool. Great. And you have also served in military, right? From your story, I came to know that. So I'm interested from the military background. You started from there and then come into this entrepreneur world, what are the lessons or things that you learned from military that you used or that help you in your entrepreneur journey?
I love that question. Well, there's a book I wrote about just that. So this book, mindcontrolmarketing.com. So the idea behind that book was basically that when I got into entrepreneurialism, I didn't have a business degree. I had not read a single business book. I had not read a marketing book. I didn't know any of that stuff, right? But what I did know was principles of human psychology that I was just naturally interested in. And being in the intelligence community, I learned some things about that there, right? And then the second half of the book is military principles, right?
Mhm.
So that book is all about how I took psychological principles and military principles and applied them to entrepreneurialism. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff I discovered later on, it's like, oh, okay, a lot of that was congruent with what the direct marketers knew. Later on, I started to become really good friends with the best direct marketers, the old school direct marketers.
Yeah.
And the way I got to become friends with them, by the way, was that none of them were doing any digital publishing. Nobody was. And I went to Joe Vitale first, and I said, hey, dude, you've got this great book, Hypnotic Writing. Let me publish it as an ebook. And he's like, nobody's going to buy an ebook. And it took me 2 years to convince him.
Wow.
When I finally convinced him, the first couple of days, we made him $50,000. And he's like, he goes, what are all these notifications? I said, those are sales, bro. I said, you made about $50,000 this week. And he was quiet for a minute. He goes, Mark, I've got a bunch of other products. I was like, let's do it, man. So he introduced me to all these people. Through him, I started to get to know like Joe Sugarman, Ted Nicholas, like all the greats, right?
Mm.
And I was very fortunate to become friends with them, and they helped level up my understanding of business. Now then I started learning, okay, this is the body of knowledge that they had. But that toolkit that I used in mind control marketing is still valid. I'll give you one example of something, and this is something that's unusual that people don't talk about, right?
Mhm.
This is not standard, classical direct marketing wisdom. This is something that's, more or less unique, so far as I know. So one of the principles that I applied was, when you are in combat, one of the things that you need to do is camouflage yourself, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And one of the ideas behind camouflage is that there are these principles, the elements of identification. What allows you to identify somebody? And it's things like color, movement, shine, shape, right? So if you've got, and there's a whole list of these things, and if you don't adjust these things so that you blend into the background, people see you, and if they see you, they kill you, right?
Yeah.
So we took that. I said, well, wait a minute. If that's how we make things invisible, can't I just flip that around and make things more visible? Right? So we started playing with those ideas to make all of our ads and all of the different things that we were doing stand out more. So that's, one of many ideas that I've drawn from the military that I've applied, not just to digital marketing, but to my life and to everything in business.
Wow, that's great. That's so smart of that. Thinking about like taking an idea and just reversing that idea, basically. That's what you exactly did and applied that to the marketing. That's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And you guys obviously, like in military, you guys are using metaphors. Like we are listening from other internet marketers, Russell Brunson, other. They talk about strategies, tactics, battle plan, blueprint, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to know your definition of that. Not everything, but what is your definition between of your strategies and tactics that you define in your words?
Oh, okay. All right. I like that. Yeah, it's a distinction most people don't make, and the people who do make it often make it incorrectly. There is a very important difference between those two. Now, I'll give you one of the standard ways people talk about it, right?
Mhm.
Tactics are what you do when you know what to do, right? Strategy is what guides you when you don't, right?
Mhm.
Let me give you a way to understand this. It's very profound. There is a great saying, I believe it was von Clausewitz who said that no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. Now, Mike Tyson said this a little bit more eloquently. He says, everybody got a plan until you get punched in the face, right? and I was like, man, Mike said it better, actually, right? And so, all right, you come in there with a battle plan, you get punched in the face. Now you're like discombobulated. Like, okay, what I thought I was going to do isn't going to work. What do I do now? Well, you go back to your strategy. Your strategy is what guides you when you don't know what to do, when you're confused, when the bullets are flying. You're like, okay, all right, deep breath. What do I do? So that didn't work. What is our larger objective? What are we trying to accomplish here? Well, we have this larger vision of how we want to accomplish what we want to accomplish, right?
Yep.
That's strategy. That's strategy. I mean, so strategy is bigger, tactics are smaller. Now, to accomplish your strategy, there's an infinite, palette of tactics from which you can draw, and you can invent tactics, right? Or I could say maybe another way to put it, which would be better, is there is an infinite palette of tactical principles from which you can draw and generate your own tactics on the will, or at will, or on the go. Strategy is similar, right? But generally, if you're smart, if you did it the right way, you formulated your strategy in a way that will still be relevant after you get punched in the nose. Now, if you get punched in the nose in a way that negates your entire strategy, you got some big problems, right?
Yeah, true.
So fortunately, as entrepreneurs, we have the ability to adjust a little bit more than a guy that's got bullets flying at him does. However, one thing I would like to make clear to everyone is that we are entering an era right now, and frankly, I think we're smack dab in the middle of it, where the bullets are flying at us, and they're flying at us very, very fast. So my most recent book is called Your Roadmap to Money in the 2020s. You read it?
No, I saw that actually. I was watching one of your interview. I'm going to download it. I know. I found the link.
I would love for you to read both of those and hear your feedback on it. I think that they would both be very helpful for you. My desire is to write books that are going to be perennial, right? I don't want to write books about, the flavor of the month tactic that's working right now, right? It's like, okay, that's interesting. It's cool, but it's not perennial, right? So everything that I write, I want to give people perennial principles. The Roadmap to Money in the 2020s, the idea behind that is that, so first of all, before we talk about tactics and strategy, we have to talk about a concept that's above that hierarchically. And I did not know this concept until I had an interaction with a profound teacher at Officer Candidate School in Fort Benning, Georgia. We were taking classes when we weren't, sticking our nose down in the mud and getting our teeth kicked in by drill sergeants at Officer Candidate School. We were taking very boring classes at a building called Building 4. Our nickname for it was Building Snore, because the classes were all incredibly boring. But this was an iconic building. I mean, this is a building where like every great general that took classes there. And then people that went to the School of the Americas, like, Emmanuel Noriega, he was taking classes there. One day, a teacher came in and we knew instantly that this guy had a very different view. He had a different approach, and we all sort of like stood up because you could just sense that this guy was special. We nicknamed him Yoda after the fact, right? And so he comes in and he has a chalkboard and he slams a stick at it and says, "Can anybody answer this question?" And the question was, what is the single distinguishing characteristic of a leader? He says, anyone? One guy raises his hand. He goes, communication, right? And Yoda says, oh, really? So you've got a catastrophically bad battle plan and you communicated it perfectly to your troops and they're all dead. I see greatness in your future, candidate, right? And then another guy raises his hand, gives another answer. And one by one, he was shooting every answer down and just murdering our egos. Right. Now, this process went on for 90 minutes. It was excruciating. And at the end of 90 minutes, everybody shut up. Right. Because he's like, no one really. So you guys are all the hot shots. You're the best and the brightest from your units that they sent to Officer Candidate School. You're going to lead young men and women off to potentially die in battle. if you're a crappy leader like all you guys apparently are, and you can't answer what the single most distinguishing characteristic of a leader is. And everybody's just like, oh God, it was like a punch in the gut.
Of course.
Right. I mean, it was a profound awareness. We were like, he's right. Mm-hmm. He's right. We thought we were something that we were not. And he says, okay, I'll put you all out of your collective misery. He flips over the chalkboard and it says, see the battlefield. See the battlefield. And then suddenly everybody was like, oh, right. Because if you can't see the battlefield, how can you if you can communicate well, but you can't see the battlefield, is that going to do you any good? If you can shoot and move and communicate and do all these other things really, really well, if you're charismatic, if you can lead by example, does any of that matter if you can't see the battlefield? None of it does, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that your roadmap to money in the 2020s does is it helps you see the battlefield right now. Right now, there are things going on in the world that if you don't know they're happening, you cannot see the battlefield. And if you can't see the battlefield, you can't lead your business. And if you can't lead your business will not make it. Okay. So we can get into what some of those things are if you want to discuss that. But I just want to, kind of let everybody know there are things that you have to understand. And now it gets really deep into the weeds of it in that book. And I recommend people read it. But, it's essential because right now, the vast majority of us do not know these things at all. And we really, really, really need to know them because we are entering a critical point in history now where you are not going to be able to predict what's going to happen next. So how do you manage your life if you don't know how to predict what's going to happen next? And that's what that book gets into.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna be downloading that. And I think you wrote that book before COVID, right? That's where you made all
it predicted what was going to happen with COVID as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the version that's up there now is I just released an updated version for 2022. So, we took the COVID stuff out, but yeah, before COVID, I was, the coronavirus thing was just breaking out. It was before anybody, it was just like, we've heard about bird flu and all this other stuff. It never turned in anything. That's what COVID was at the time. But I was like, well, here's what it could potentially be. I don't know, but here's what it could potentially be. And here's what would happen. And it kind of played out the way I talked about in the book.
Beautiful. Definitely. And it reminded me of Russell talks about your story when he was, when the AdSense was something new and you advised him to work on the email list. And he was like, these guys are making so much money. Why you are just asking me to build the list and all that? So that was another example. I would say, like, you predicted that this is a long-term asset, the email list itself.
Right. Well, so somehow I've been able to be ahead of the curve in terms of what's been happening technologically. And that is one of the primary things that's allowed me to make good strategic moves. Right. And the purpose of that book, Your Roadmap to Money in the 2020s, was also partly to help teach people how not just to see the battlefield as it's going on right now, but how to see the battlefield in general, right? How to think like a futurist so that you can prepare yourself for things. And Russell was very grateful that he did that because when the Google slap happened, all that money dried up. And I was telling everybody, a year before, I was like, guys, here's what's going to happen. Everybody's like, oh, dude, you're crazy. It's not going to we're making money. We're fine. And people are like, honey, we're going to buy a new house. Kids don't have to buy a great new car. And then when the thing dried up, they were all like, oh, my God, what are we going to do? Right. And, well, if you'd built an email list, you'd have a fallback plan.
Absolutely. That's what helped Russell at that time. That's amazing. Cool. And I'm curious to know, I know we have very limited time. Last question I would ask about this integration marketing. I heard you say so much for our younger generation. I didn't hear before you actually about the integration marketing. And then I saw you talking about on FHL video as well, which Russell did an interview with you. If you want to just give a glimpse of that, what exactly is that integration market in a simple language?
Yeah. So that, by the way, Your Roadmap to Money in the 2020s was an unintentional prequel to integration marketing. And so let me just give you a little bit of background there. So one of the things that I recommend in your roadmap to money in the 2020s is what I call the 3 essential hedges, right? And hedge number 3 is what I call big tech marketing independence. All right. So why is that important? Well, look at what happened to Russell with the Google slap, right?
Yeah.
That's so I want to ask everybody watching, raise your hand silently or say yes in the comments or whatever. Have you ever had an ad account shut down? Have you ever been banned or shadow banned, right? Yeah. Have you ever had big tech suddenly pull the rug from under you in some unexpected way, right? And like whenever I do this in live audiences, by the way, and I ask like a bunch of digital marketers, like 80, 90% of the rooms got their hand up. Like, cause like, yep. Happened to me, right? It happened to all these people. Well, it's even worse than that. Okay. It's even worse than that. Whatever you think of people like Andrew Tate and Alex Jones, right? I don't know if you're following this, but a couple of years ago, Alex Jones had all of his platforms shut down within a 24-hour period. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everybody shut him down all at once. Same thing happened to Andrew Tate just a few weeks ago. Not only did they shut down his access to all of these major platforms within a 24-hour period, mind you, okay, they shut down his merchant processing. Okay, he didn't have a way to collect money anymore. Okay, now, yeah, it's like
crazy.
Whoa. Yeah. Now, and I'll let everybody come to their own conclusions about how that all happened within a 24-hour window. These allegedly independent companies all did that to one person within a 24-hour window. That's like a holy F moment, right? I mean, you got to take that really, really seriously. If they can do that to him, they could do that to you. Now, you might think, well, let's say you don't like Alex Jones and Andrew Tate. Let's not get into that, right? Some people love them. Some people hate them. I don't care, right? But if your thought is, well, they're bad people, so it's okay that they shut them down. Really? Well, who determines who are good and bad people, right? And if those people suddenly decide to say, well, Sahil is a bad person too, because I don't like the hairdo he has, or whatever it is, suddenly we're against all men with beards, right? Like, I don't know, I'm being silly, but you don't know what criteria they're using to determine who is acceptable and who is not. Okay. And because of that, no one should have that power to take away all of your access, right? Unless you're committing crimes for which you should be punished by the judicial system, we should not have these independent agencies out there suddenly taking away your livelihood. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing. So why am I saying all of this? You're asking about integration marketing. Well, integration marketing is the secret sauce that gives you independence from the big tech platforms. Subsequently, it's also the way small businesses can become big businesses and big businesses can become empires. The greatest business empires in the world have all been built on integration marketing. Now, we could have a much longer, deeper conversation about the subtleties of integration marketing. They're what I call the 4 integration marketing cash cows. But the classical way of thinking about integration marketing, which is only one of the 4 cash cows of integration marketing, is that let's say you're somebody who has an offer and you're like, okay, I don't want to pay for advertising. Well, you can get other people to promote your product. Now, some people say, oh, this is affiliate marketing. No, it's much bigger than that. Affiliate marketing is one of many, many ways to do this. Okay. So to put it in sort of the technical language, there's a very technical definition I use for integration marketing in the book. There's precision of language. It's important to read and understand, but for our purposes, to keep it brief, it's your integration of one marketing process into another marketing process. So for example, one of the classical ways I was pioneering this in the early days, we were the first to do upsells. And we had this upsell for a product called ROI Bot, the first ad tracking company. Okay. And then we said, this upsell is doing amazingly well. We honed it to a point where like 50% of the people who were buying our ebooks were saying yes to this free trial for this ad tracking service. It was crazy. Now you're never going to get those numbers today, right? Unless, you've got some really special, you can make that happen, but that was a special circumstance. There was lots of newness and interesting circumstances. So by that time, other people had already been doing a lot of ebooks. and a lot of ebooks about internet marketing. So I went to those guys and I said, look, you don't have anything on your thank you page. We're crushing it with this. Let's do some simple math. How many sales are you getting? I'm getting 50% conversion. Let's say you get 5% conversion. I had one of these old, paper tape clicky clack calculators so I could do the math while I'm talking to them. And I'm like, okay, putting the numbers in and the spool is going zzz, zzz, zzz. And I'm like, oh, well, if you only got 5% conversion each month, you'd be adding this much to your revenue. And by the end of the year, that would mean this much. And all we have to do is put one line of code on your thank you page. What do you think? How do we get started? Right?
Of course.
So now here's what's interesting about that. Okay. We do that with one person. Okay. We do that with one person. Now we've got a whole new stream of customers coming in. We don't have to pay any advertising dollars. We only pay money when we get results, right? We only pay money when we get results. That started to filter out. More and more people started picking it up. And before I knew it, our company was doing well. That one tactic was the exponential hockey stick for us that shot us up into the stratosphere, because we now had a whole bunch of people sending us customers for free. Now, there's a whole lot we can say about this. Those customers were not just any customers. These were pre-qualified customers, right?
Yeah,
we knew that they were interested in digital marketing, right? We knew that they had credit cards. We knew that they wanted to buy stuff right now. There are all these things. And all that was coming to us, no risk. And guess what? If Google had shut us down, if anybody had shut us down at that point, I wouldn't have cared, because we had our customers coming in. Big tech marketing independence. That's the key reason why you must embrace integration marketing. And I'll tell you one more story about that. On that interview that you saw, you heard him tell this story. Yep. Russell was saying, hey, when I first started ClickFunnels, we weren't doing any paid ads. We were doing integration marketing like you taught me. Yeah. Those integration marketing deals that we set up 10 years ago, we just did an analysis and we're like, holy crap, we're getting more business from the integration marketing deals we set up 10 years ago than what our $1 to $2 million per month ad budget is giving us.
Yeah, I remember. Exactly. That's what he said.
Yep.
True. It's so powerful. Yeah. You just have to understand the importance of it. People who have implemented it, they have proved it actually.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I'll tell this to some people and they'll go, wow, that sounds like a really good idea. And I'm like, no, dude, if you're saying, oh, it's just a good idea, you don't get it, man. This is going to transform your life. If you get this, it will change the way you see everything and it will change the way you operate. Now, am I telling people not to use paid ads, not to use the big tech platforms? No, there's still opportunity there, right? I remember somebody was writing a post about that, like going, oh, I can't understand why somebody would do that. It's like they're throwing away money, and I'm like, I never told anybody not to use paid ads, right? I make that very clear all the time. Use all the opportunities that you have, but build it on a foundation of what's going to last a long time.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to be putting the links on the show notes about all the books. I also I've read a couple of pages about the Irresistible Offer. That is my favorite one. I'm going to be putting the notes over there as well in the show notes. Any last message for our buddy entrepreneurs, Mark? Anything you want to say to these?
Man, there's so many things I would like to say, but I'll say a couple things. Okay. So first of all, guys, educate yourselves about what's going on in the world. Okay. He's going to put a link to the roadmap book.
Yep.
Guys, you can get it for like $5 now. Okay. We were giving it away. Now we're charging $5. Okay. You can spend $5 on this book. It's going to change the way you see the world. Okay. And it's going to change the way you see the world in a way that is essential to understand what is going on. When you read it, you're going to look at it and you're going to say it's long, but you'll read it in 1 or 2 sittings. Okay. You'll breeze through it. It's formatted for quick understanding. There's some profound concepts in there that will allow you to see the world in a very different way. You need that to be able to see the battlefield. It's like putting a set of goggles on that's like, oh, okay, now I can see things that I couldn't see before. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is, as entrepreneurs, you guys are going to face special challenges in your life that are unusual, that most human beings do not face. This is why most people are not entrepreneurs. Now, by the way, I predicted a long time ago that we were going to have an entrepreneurial explosion.
Mm.
That has been happening, and it got spurred on by COVID because people were losing their jobs. Guess what? More and more people are going to be losing their jobs. Okay. So it is your job right now to make yourself the kind of person that is worthy of entrepreneurialism. And if you cannot face those challenges and you cannot find a job because all the jobs are going away, you're in deep doo-doo. Okay.
Mm.
So you need to make improving yourself, making yourself the kind of person who can be worthy of entrepreneurialism, job number one for you. Now, you're going to face challenges. You're going to get your teeth kicked in every day. You're going to feel disappointed. You're going to feel like it's impossible. You need to fight through that stuff and keep going. You need to fight through it and keep going, because it's not just for your hopes and dreams anymore. Pretty soon it's going to be for your survival. Okay.
Mm.
Take that to the bank.
True. That's so powerful and deep message right there from the man himself. People who are watching us live or watching on replay, take that message seriously. Thank you so much, Mark, for your time, for giving this opportunity to share all this greatness with other entrepreneurs. I'm excited to see you at FHL this year.
Oh, you're going to be there.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. We'll link up.
Absolutely. We're going to be meeting over there. All right.
Cool.
Thank you so much once again, Mark, for
You're,
doing this.
you're most welcome.
All right. You're welcome. People who are watching us live or replay will be coming up with another episode very soon. Till then, stay tuned. Bye. Take care, everyone.